and welcome back. Today we have two different varieties of flowers that we plan on seed starting today. Now these will all be used in my cut flower garden where I sell flowers at my roadside flower stand. And hey, if you're new here, my name is Christy. I am located in Massachusetts Zone 6A, and we are going to be starting Rudbeckia and globe thistle or echinops today. I've never grown echinops before, so I'm excited to add a new perennial to the garden. They have these nice little ball spheres, and it's going to add some great texture to the bouquets this year. I also have 5 different varieties of Rudbeckia I plan on starting as well. One of them being a perennial, which is triloba. I do have 2 plants of this outside of my vegetable garden, which is now going to be turning into a cut flower garden. And they have been so prolific. I've been harvesting them from, I would say, late summer to fall. They are a great addition to my bouquets, and they just keep producing and producing. I did winter sow a couple of milk jugs, and I believe I did last year as well. However, I'm not quite sure where I put them in my gardens. I have a couple of different perennial beds, one around my vegetable garden, one along a fence line, and then one by my deck. And I didn't see any blooms, so I'm hoping I planted it somewhere and they survived this freezing cold winter. But if not, I wanted to start some indoors, so this way I knew exactly where I was going to put them. So let's start with Rudbeckia. I have 5 different varieties. So from the Gardener's Workshop, I have Goldilocks, which I think is great. It has just so many petals. I think it's just so nice and full, and I just love that nice cheery yellow it gives. And I also have, as I mentioned before, Triloba. I love this one. It worked so well in my fall bouquets. It was just basically looked like little baby sunflowers. And I could harvest anywhere from, I would say, 20 to 40 stems off of just 2 little plants. Mind you, I did have them for 3 years now, so they are getting quite full. I was even thinking of dividing them, but they're just so happy where they are. I just don't have the heart to divide and move them around. So I'm hoping this time I can make sure I know exactly where they will be in the landscape. I do plan on putting them in front of my greenhouse. It gets an abundant amount of sun there, and then that way they'll keep coming back up year after year, because I do have a nice little perennial strip there with, I think, some anise hyssop. I have a lot of my daffodils there and a few other varieties of peonies and a couple of other plants. So I think it'll be a great addition, and again, it gets a lot of sun. Now from Johnny's, I have a few left over of my cherry brandy. There's probably about 20 or so seeds. So I'm going to start a couple of these if I do have room. So I'm actually using my 40 cell count trays today. I have 5 of them ready to go, and I'm hoping I can stick to those 5 trays because I do plan on starting a lot of seeds tomorrow. We have our last round of snapdragons, or maybe this will be a 3rd round, and I might have to push it back and do one more round later. And then I do have my Canterbury bells, which I am so excited about starting. But we also do have from Select Seeds, I have Cherokee Sunset Rudbeckia, and I have the Sahara mix, and I'm super excited. So I did start some Indian Summer in my winter sowing milk jugs. Those will be going to the school that I work at. I feel like those were just a little bit too bright and yellow. They didn't have the best vase life, but they just made the front of the building so nice and cheery, where these ones right here are all going to be going into my cut flower garden, where we will put them into production at my roadside flower stand. Now for Echinops, this is again my first year growing them. Another fun perennial. I like blues, and then I did get a white variety as well. These will probably be going with my sea holly if I have some space. It's another perennial garden I have with some irises, and I have all of my blue hydrangeas there. So I got from Johnny's Selected Seeds, I got the retro variety, and then from Swallowtail, I have Star Frost, and I also have Blue Glow. So I'm hoping I can get these in either 1 or 2 of the 40 cell count trays. If not, again, it's going to be another, okay, at least I can winter sow these, so it's not going to be a big deal. So we are going to do Rudbeckia first. That way I can make sure I have enough room on my heat mats. I'm trying to stick to my 1 4-foot heat mat. I do have 2 smaller ones I can also plug in as well if I need to, but I need to save my 2nd 4-foot heat mat for tomorrow for all of my snapdragons, which I'm assuming I'm going to need at least 3 128 cell count trays. And then I do have my Canterbury bells, or campanula if you would like to call it, which it would probably be like a little bit over 1 tray. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how that works. but I need to make sure at least I have room for those tomorrow. So let's start with Rudbeckia. All right, so Rudbeckia is gonna take anywhere from 8 to 14 days to germinate. And I get all of my growing information from Johnny's. There's just so many amazing details on their website or on the back of their seed packets. So if you ever purchase something and you're just not quite sure how to grow it, definitely check out Johnny's. They have everything you need to know, from harvesting to how to plant it, what kind of soil they need. So I get everything from there. Now, these will have to be grown at between 65 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. I probably will be keeping them about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, just because once the grow lights are on, it gets a little bit warmer in there, the soil temperature will rise. So I have those on for about 14 hours a day. I turn them on as soon as we are waking up because we grow in my master bedroom. And then I turn them off as soon as I go to bed. So it roughly averages about 14 hours. It could be a little bit more depending on how tired I am. So I will be making sure also too with the Rudbeckia, you want to surface sow these. They do need light to germinate and they are super tiny. So I try and put, if I can, 2 seeds per cell. If another one gets in there, it's going to be okay. I just don't have time to do the toothpick method where you just put them on a plate, you know, you lick your toothpick and then you put one in at a time. Because if you're new here, I do all my seed starting during nap time. So we try and cram in as much as we can in one chunk of time. And then if I have time afterwards, I try and do something else for you guys. But anyway, so I will just either put it in my hand, pinch them, and try and roll them off my finger, or you can make a crease in the seed packet and then I just gently tap the sides. It just depends on how I am feeling that day. But you can do the toothpick method if you do have time to do so. And with Rudbeckia, they are a cool, hardy annual, so you can actually plant these out before your average last frost date. I have some that I'm trying to winter over right now. They are currently buried under at least 2 feet of snow, if not more. We just got a few more inches today. But the sun is out, so at least that's good. It has cleared up and it's not as much as we were hoping. So that is also good news. So I am planning on trying to get these out sometime in mid to late April. Once the soil is being able to be worked, I will move these into my Costco greenhouse, which I purchased last year, to start the hardening off process. So when I'm trying to figure out the timing for everything, if it says 6 to 8 weeks before planting out, I do that 8-week mark because I also need to make sure that you have a full week or two to harden them off. And especially when it's cold out like this, I will take more than a week. If it's just like my warm loving annuals, I will push it to 5 days, 4 days sometimes, depending on what the weather is like. But since it is so cold, I mean, today is actually negative 14 degrees right now. It has not been this cold since I can remember, at least as an adult. So I have to make sure that I give the hardening off process a lot of time. So I'll move them into my greenhouse before I move them outside and then plant them out. All right, so I have my potting soil all ready to go. This year I am using Pro Mix potting soil instead of seed starting mix. So everything is pre-moistened. I just have a big bin where I pour water in and then I get it all nice and damp. If you wring it out like a sponge, you shouldn't be having any water droplets come out and it should still hold its form. If you have a bunch of water running down your hand, it just means you need to add some more potting soil. And then what I like to do is I will fill them in and then I will push my fingers in each cell. That way I'm making sure I get all the air pockets out. It usually takes me about 3 to 4 tries just to make sure that everything is nice and compacted in. And since these do need to be surface sown, I don't want them to get lost in any extra soil on top. So I'll take my hands again and I just do like a light little tamp down. You don't want it to be too hard where the seed's roots can't, you know, find its way into the soil, but you still want to make sure you get all those air pockets out. It will help when you start to bottom water. Your tray won't start collapsing in some of the cells or they might not be getting watered anyways. You'll find maybe sometimes the cells get a little bit too dry, and that's just because there's an air pocket and it's not able to wick up all of the water. And I will be making sure I use my mister. So I'll put all of my seeds on, mist them in, especially because these need light to germinate. I will just make sure that they get really good contact with that soil. This mister helps out tremendously with it. Then I'll sprinkle vermiculite on top to help with the moisture control. And then I will take my mister and then water the whole thing. So right now I'm going to be starting off with my Cherokee Sunset and Sahara by Selected Seeds. So I am zone 6 and it says that these can be a perennial in zones 9 and 10. So I like to treat these like an annual. I did fall plant some, so we'll see if they come up. There's no protection whatsoever. I don't know if the bunny ate them, so we shall see. All right, so I'm gonna start with my Sahara right now. And then we'll move on to the Cherokee Sunset. I'm gonna try and only have 2 per cell, so let's see how I do. Now, if you're like me and you overseed, it's no worries. You can always tease them apart if you would like. You can try and prick them out. These are super small. They're basically smaller than like your kid's ice cream cone sprinkle, but I can still pick them up with my fingers. So I'm gonna, again, try to put 2. I like to sometimes put extra just as good measure, and then I can always prick them out later. And then, you know what, it doesn't hurt you if you have extras. So I'm trying to only use 20 of these cells because I think that will be plenty, especially if there's more than one plant. And then we can save the rest. Maybe I can try and see if I can winter over them again. If not, these will be good to go for next year. And I'm just having them roll off my fingers. But I wanted to add some new varieties. I did have one from the nursery down the road, which I used in the fall, but I really wanted to add some great fall colors. When I had my flower stand opened this past year, my fall colorways or color palettes were usually the first to go, even over like the dahlias and the zinnias. I think once like mid-August hit, we are just all, at least here, in my area, over summer, and we're ready for the fall. So any type of fall like colors and decorations, we are just good to go. All right, so we're almost done with this one. Oh, that one probably had like 6 in there, but that's okay. All right, and I still have a ton of seeds, which is great. Oh, one stuck. There we go. And now we are going to do the Cherokee Sunset, and we're going to do the same thing. And then I'm going to just keep on going. So I'm just going to speed through this, and I'll catch you when we get to the Echinops. Got distracted and I kept on going, and I thought I was going to need at least 3 trays for this, but I forgot that the Gardener's Workshop, I think it was like a max of 25 seeds, where Select Seeds had a ton of them, and I probably could, if I wanted to, and I knew I had the space, do another tray of the Select Seeds. So that would be the Cherokee Sunset and the Sahara, but I am not. I am going to make sure I just look at that. I think 2 is better. So we're going to switch gears, and we are going to start some Echinops right now. So I'm going to start with my Echinops, and we are going to do the varieties that I have from Swallowtail. And it's just nice to see these ones because they're so much bigger, so it's going to be very easy. But it says to sow into the soil and do not cover it, even though these are larger seeds. So I'm going to do the same thing just like I did with the Black-Eyed Susans. I'm going to make sure that they get good contact with the soil. Again, this is all pre-moistened from earlier. And then I'm going to water them in with my mister, top them off with vermiculite, and then we'll water them in again. And I will do the Swallowtail. I'm going to share a tray, so I'm going to try and split it in half. And then the ones from Johnny's, which is the retro, I'm going to do 1 whole tray worth of those as well. So let's start with the Star Frost. And like I said, it was just so nice to see that, you know, they're a little bit bigger, but I've seen that these also really help if you want to have these not just as cut flowers, but just in your pollinator strips. That would be great because I've seen that the bees love them. So that is always good, especially if you have a vegetable garden. These will be great around your vegetable garden because you're going to need those bees, especially with your squash, your zucchini, cucumbers to help pollinate. You'll see a world of a difference once you can get some bees into your garden. All right, so I'm going to just lay these on top, and since they are big enough, I can easily just press them into the soil. So they have really good contact, and let's see. Whoops, they're rolling everywhere. All right, and this last one, you know what? Actually, no, I'm just gonna do this. All right, so those are there. And then the next one is going to be the Blue Glow. And again, these are going to be from Swallowtail. Whoop. Oh, and I dropped one. Let's see. Make sure you go in there. Now, do I need this many plants? Most likely not, but I do have a coworker that loves to add to her garden. Actually, I have 2 of them, so I always try and give them if I have any extra. Again, always try and plant things at the school. Trying to go more in the perennials. The annuals did good. We had some beautiful zinnias. I was able to make like a nice flower arrangement once a week to have at our front entrance when kids came in. So that was nice. But definitely starting more than I probably need. All right, they're like stuck in between my fingers. Ah, there we go. And look at that, I'm just short 1, so not too bad. So I'm going to move these over. We are going to water them in. So this is what I wanted to show you when I was doing the Black-Eyed Susan. So I give them a nice water in. So they get the good contact. These I was able to press in with my fingers, but when you have something small, it's really good to have the mister. And then I still have a little bit left. I need to order some more. I like to use the fine vermiculite, and I will just cover the whole entire cell. It doesn't get too humid right now. I mean, if you could see my Lysianthus, they are just swimming in the algae. It's kind of gross, but I don't mind at all. They're still thriving, but this room does get warm, so vermiculite is super important for me. Once we start getting the annuals, it's gonna start warming up here probably in March, I would hope. So to make sure that this settles nicely, I will again water them in so the particles aren't going all over the place. And then I will put these with a humidity dome on top, and then we're gonna get them into our heat mats. And I do have a probe that goes into the soil so I can keep the temperature steady as they require. All right, so I'm gonna move this one right here. And then this next one is going to be from Johnny's. It is the retro variety. And this is, what I like about this is it's a perennial in zones, let's see, 3 through 9. So I'm in 6, we're good to go. So I'm going to do a whole tray of these as well. Now, if you don't need something like this, go and grab some 6-pack cells. And I really do like the ones that are clear so you can kind of see the roots. I will do this with some of my vegetables so I can see if they are starting to get root bound at all, which is something that you don't want to happen. But you don't have to start this many. If you need 6, grab a 6-pack. And what's also really good too is if you want to save, you can always go to your local nursery. We have one right down the road. It's like a minute drive. And she has an area with extra packs that people bring back or containers that she can't use. So I'll get some of those if I need to. But you can always ask around. So that way you don't have to spend too much money because, especially if you're just starting out, it's a lot. I just bought 128 cells packs for my Campanella, which I plan on doing tomorrow, and Snapdragons. So I don't know. And there's so many different brands, but the ones that I just got, they're by, I believe, Rude Trimmer is what it's called. It's on Amazon, and they're pretty darn sturdy. I mean, these cell packs right here, I have linked in my description. I'm on year 3 with them, and they're still holding up nicely, but the bottom trays sometimes they'll break because I'm a little bit careless with them and how I store them in my greenhouse this past year. So the kids were kind of walking all over them, unfortunately. All right, let's get one in here. Some of them I'm gonna put 2 because why not? Am I gonna need to grow these again next year? I don't know, but you know what? I could always just winter sow the extras, but I feel like I'm so far behind on winter sowing. I have so much I still need to winter sow. All right, so let's get these into the water. And then I'm gonna have to do a couple of pumps. There we go. And this mister is also really good when you are have little baby seedlings. Like my Snapdragons, I'm not quite bottom watering them yet. I'll use this and I'll make it a little bit less of a pressure. And it has worked great until they're a little bit more sturdy. I'll start bottom watering them. I truthfully can't stand bottom watering sometimes because I never know how much water to put in, and then sometimes I forget about them. They get a little bit soggy, or you have too much water in them. You gotta dump them out, so it's just like a whole process. But yeah, you know, fun times growing. So let's see. this should be about good. We're gonna water them in again. And we're gonna get these on the heat mat. This is actually pretty darn quick, so I'm thrilled. This was a successful nap time seed starting adventure. Alrighty, and we're done. So these will just get humidity domes on top. I'll set them at around like 70 degrees or so, and they will be good to go. And I'll show you what the seed starting rack looks like right now. It's kind of be like a little Tetris gaming system right now. I'm gonna be using this one behind me soon. I have some in my basement, which I just added some lights to, and I have a small one over here that has my eucalyptus on it. So we're starting to get very crowded, which is kind of making me a little bit nervous. All right, so here they are on my heat mat. I have them set to 70 degrees, and I do have a little probe that is stuck in so that way it can monitor them. And then I have Lizzie's back there and my snapdragons, and then more snapdragons, and I do have some coneflower back there. And then we do have all of our dahlias, which are starting to wake up. So just this rack alone is getting pretty busy. But what's good is I do have a table that I can transfer this to, so I can use this bottom rack once more is started, because we have more snapdragons coming. Alrighty, and just like that, we have 4 more trays ready to go. They are on the heat mats. I'm hoping that I can get them to move off come next Saturday, so then we can start some more things. I feel like that's always the tricky part, is when you're constantly seed starting, is making sure you have enough room on the heat mats. Now I do have, like I mentioned, 2 4-foot ones. I have 2 singles. So worst case scenario, which would mean on Saturday, if I needed an extra day or so, I could put something on my single heat mats, or I can always just push things back, because I do like to start things more towards the earlier end. So again, if it says like 8 to 10 weeks, I try and do it at the 10-week mark, in case for whatever reason I'm either busy or there's no room on the heat mat. I can just bump back a week and I'll still be in that time frame which I need to seed start them. So there's just always some kind of game plan being worked out. And if you would like to see how I try and manage when I start seeds, I do have a video for that. I'll try and link it down in the description if I remember, but if not, just definitely go and click on Christy's Green Journey and you'll see it under the videos tab. And if you also check out the video, I do have a free Google Doc where I actually give you my whole entire list of when I plan on seed starting everything. You can tweak it to when your growing time is, which might be a little bit different than mine. You might be a little bit ahead or earlier than me. My average last frost date is around May 10th, 15th or so. It kind of fluctuates. Like this year it says May 9th. It's just because I feel like it's just on a Saturday. So it bumped up of a day, but I sometimes will wait till Memorial Day weekend for all of my warm loving things. So tomorrow I'm going to be seed starting my hopefully last round of snapdragons, depending on how much room I have on the heat mat. And I do have Campanella, which I'm super excited to try this year. I have 3 different varieties. So if you would like to stay tuned and see all the updates, which I'm hoping to get an update soon on all the things underneath my grow rack, go ahead and click like and subscribe and hit that bell button, and I'll see you all next time. Happy gardening. Bye.